guys to lose by 16 points.
I saw that. I think it was Adam Rittenberg. I saw that. It's a big score.
But aside from that, what do you see from their offense? Which offense does it remind you of that you played earlier this year?
Offense they remind me of. They're a little different. I mean, they have Keyshawn Johnson, receiver number 3, who's similar to Nikhil. I mean, numbers wise, 1,300 yards receiving. He's their leading receiver by far. They move him around the formation. I mean, he'll be the by one receiver. They'll put him in the slot at 1, 2, and 3. He's really dangerous. They've got 2 really good running backs that are very physical. Mims is a little bit bigger than Rivers, but they're both downhill runners. I think Marcus McMaryion is a really good quarterback. He's going to be one of the better quarterbacks that we've faced this year. Very calm, very poised in the pocket, runs the offense, does what they want him to do. Very athletic, can run the ball. Doesn't really want to run the ball. He's smart, doesn't take hits that are unnecessary. And then they've got a couple of speedsters. I mean, Jameer Jordan, we recruited him at San Diego State out of high school. He's a 10, 500-meter guy, so they'll do all the fly sweeps and all those things. I think it's a combination of Washington and Colorado, what they do on offense. And they're a very physical football team. I think all my times at the previous school, it was the only school that was able to match our physical stature. And we had great battles with them. So it's going to be a very, very good challenge. I mean, they're a great football team. They're ranked 21st in the country for a reason.
You feel, you talk about previous school, I mean, there's the reality of San Diego State 335. How does that factor into the ballgame?
It'll help them a little bit. They've seen it. We'll give them some different stuff than what they've seen, what they saw against San Diego State. San Diego State played them really well this year. I think the third play of the game, their corner falls down and they get a 90-yard or 80-yard touchdown. And then they only got a field goal the rest of the half. The second half, a couple big pass plays. Now they held San Diego State to 8 first downs on defense. They're really good on defense, both statistically and they look the part. I mean, they're going to look just as pretty as our football team. So I mean, it's they're good. They're scary. They're a scary football team. Yes. Well deserved. Merlin Robertson. I think I've preached about how good he's going to be and stuff from the very beginning. And you have an opportunity to be a good coach when you have good players, and he is the epitome of that. The special thing about Merlin is from day one, he wanted to know what everybody does, and I think that's an impressive thing for a 17-year-old kid. He knows where the puzzle pieces fit, and then he's big. I mean, he's 6'3", he's 254 pounds. He runs well. He's just got a great feel for the game of football. And all these nice things that I say about him out here, I'm not that nice to him during practice and meetings and stuff because he's really good and plays really hard. But he knows from my standpoint, I think he's lazy and he's got a long way to go. And so when he gets through that, he could be really special. And there's a chance that if he plays like he did this year, the next 2 years, he'll be like Nikhil. We'll be celebrating him going on to the next level, but that's a long way away. And he's been hearing that, not from me. He's been hearing that from people and the model and stuff. And you hear that term, sophomore slump. Well, we're going to find a way in February to make sure he doesn't enter that. We gave him a little taste yesterday out there at practice of what February is going to be like when we start spring ball, because the guys that were in the program for the last year and a half, okay, or really the last 9 months from when I got here in December, and those guys that went through spring ball, they're still playing at a pretty good level as far as effort and how hard we want them to play. Not good enough, but better than what the 6 freshmen are playing with. They have no idea. Well, they're going to find out in February. And the taste I gave them yesterday, they've got a little scared look on their face, and he was one of them. So that's good. He doesn't act arrogant, and he doesn't think he's better than he is, and he doesn't act like he's arrived. So that gives him a chance to continue to get better. I love Merlin Robertson as a person. That young man, I text him every day when Friday nights when we're in the hotel room. I go by every defensive kid and do bed check, tuck them into bed and all that good stuff, and shake their hand and tell them good luck. And I usually spend 30, 45 minutes in his room with him and Darian, just because I like his personality. I mean, his background, where he grew up, and I mean, he's got a lot of things on his plate. I mean, he's a college student, he's a father of 2 kids, and he's a really good dad. I mean, I walk in and he'll be on FaceTime. I'm like, give me the phone. Who's that? Who we got over there? Oh, look, it's the kids. Okay, I want to know who he's talking to and what's in his life, and he's one of those people that he brings joy to people around him. He's got an infectious personality, and that's why he's a good leader, because, I mean, he gets after people. He don't mess around when it's time to go, but he's fun when you do other stuff. So, I mean, he's just, I'm super excited he's here. It helps. Now, the good thing is around here, we've had some freshmen win that award. With us having a new staff, I think recruiting in LA is really, Southern California, it helps because all those guys are playing. We've had kids from other parts of the country that have played with some of our guys that they're calling us. They want to see if there's an opportunity for them here, and these are really good players. I mean, they're getting recruited by some of the best people in the country because they're seeing that there's an opportunity for people to play. Now, hopefully, over the next 3 years, that opportunity is not there. And if you always want to try and out-recruit your talent, but if you get to a point where you can't and you're just building and building and building, that's where we want to get. We're a couple years away from that. We're still going to have to rely on some true freshmen to play next year to give us some depth. It helps in recruiting to get those really good players because of the accolades he's getting. But if you plan on playing 6 true freshmen every year, you're going to be very average. I mean, we're building something, but I mean, the last 3 weeks of defense that we played, it's not good. It's a combination of they're beat up a little bit. They've never played this many snaps in their lives, and they're not playing hard. They've never been through a spring ball that teaches the expectation, which I'm licking my chops to get them in, because you should make tremendous strides when you have that. I think with the group of kids that we've got, the group of kids we think we're going to get, and the culture we're building, you got a chance to be really, really special. I mean, I said it halfway through the season. I mean, I have goals and aspirations, not for just defense, but for this program. We have the opportunity, if we evaluate right, to be one of the best programs in the Pac-12. It all comes down to evaluation. We don't recruit who people tell us to recruit. We recruit the kids that we think are going to make our program elite. And sometimes you're going to see some kids that get recruited that nobody's recruiting. And sometimes we're going to recruit kids that everybody's recruiting. And my personality is I don't care who's recruiting people. I want to recruit good football players that are going to be mean, nasty, and want to come in here and compete and dominate. On both sides of the ball. It doesn't mean we have areas as coaches, we recruit areas. So all the coaches have to be held accountable to know who's in their area, of who are good football players in their area, because we want to dominate this league. You go back into the 70s when Coach Cush was here, he won 4 Fiesta Bowl championships before they moved into they went from the WAC to the Pac-12, and then they turned it over, and there's been a couple of regimes. You go to the 87 team that went to the Rose Bowl. You go to the 96 team who's 91 seconds away from winning the national title. We want to build to compete for that, and that's through recruiting. You're not a good coach if you don't have good players. Coaches don't win games, they can lose games. Great players win games. You just give them a chance. If you don't screw them up and you have good players, you can win a bunch of games. And that's the aspiration of this program, to compete to get in the CFP.
Because the Pac-12 has taken quite a bit of criticism for not being at that level this season, various other things. You seem to believe, though, that
I do.
That could be a CFP
I do.
type of team. What tells you that?
One, I think we have the support from Dr. Crow and Ray Anderson to give us what we need to be successful. Okay, we have great facilities. The previous staff and Coach Anderson, Ray Anderson and Dr. Crow they were able to build with the stadium renovation, with this building. You have an opportunity to bring kids on campus and show them what you have. Now, what we have is really, really special. It looks good. So does everybody else in our league. When they walk into Oregon State, it's every bit as impressive. So you have to give them something else. We've got an unbelievable city to recruit to, okay? We've got a very family-oriented atmosphere around here. There's kids running around. Shoot, I bring my kids to press conferences. They're welcomed everywhere. So when we're recruiting families, and in this world, in this day and age, you don't just recruit the kid, you recruit the families. They have to feel comfortable that that their kids are going to be taken care of. If my kid stumbles, are the coach is going to have their back, or are they going to turn away and forget about them? So we have a really good staff. I think everybody on our staff is driven competitively. They're the right kind of people. I mean, I would trust anybody on this staff with my kids, which that's not always the case. If we can keep some continuity, then you have an opportunity to build something very special. Like I said, it comes down to evaluating. We're not going to be the most talented team in this league because we don't have the tradition that SC and UCLA have yet. I mean, they have $33 million in the state of California within a gas tank of recruiting. We don't have that. But we have 33 million people within 5 hours, and they can't take all of them. So if we do a good job evaluating, it comes down to how tough and mean and nasty we can make them. And it's harder in this day and age to do that. But you don't have to berate them. You don't have to beat them to do it. You have to coach them hard. They have to know you care about them. And when they're willing to run through a wall for you, you can do anything. And I believe we can do it at this place. I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. I'm as competitive a person as they come. And I want to win every single game we play. And that's what you build to. And if you can win every single game in this league, and you have a Michigan State out of conference, and you can beat them, you have a chance. You're going to be in that conversation. And it's going to cycle through. You're going to get an SC team that's going to be really, really good, or you're going to get Washington that's really, really good. So if you have 2 top 10 teams or 2 top 15 teams playing in the championship game of the Pac-12, one of those teams should be in the conversation for the CFP. I mean, there's Washington did it in 2016. I don't think we can't do it if we evaluate right. It comes down to having players, though. You got to have players. You got to recruit, and then you got to coach them hard and get them to believe. Mean, nasty, physical football is the way you win games in a program like this.
Any updates on that?
Jalen Harvey is still day to day. He hadn't had a whole lot of strength come back in his arm yet from the previous 2 weeks. So now we have 2 weeks out. That might be a game day decision. We're not going to give him a ton of reps in practice only because he's played enough that he can stand back there, and he's mature enough that he will be able to play if he was able to. I know the young man's dying to play, which is a good thing to have. Cam Phillips, he's got a very interesting thing going on. We're trying to figure out what it is, so he's going to see a couple specialists today. I had a very similar incident with a young man at San Diego State that you do all these tests and you can't find anything, but there's certain kids that you can tell that there's something wrong, and you have to find it. So we're going to send them to all the specialists. I mean, the one I had at San Diego State, the young man had to have a nerve clipped, as bad as that sounds. But they clipped the nerve, and all of a sudden, the next day, he's like 100%. So, I mean, sometimes there's serious things. Sometimes there's some things you can find. So we're trying to figure out what his deal is. Most importantly, we need to get him available for spring ball. I can't wait. February is going to be a fun month. They have no idea what they're in for. So.
You said at one point that you would have welcomed getting San Diego State again.
Yeah.
Later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't get San Diego State, but you get Fresno State. Does it almost feel like it's kind of a redo of San Diego State? Mountain West champion.
The reason I wanted to play San Diego State again was more from a personal standpoint because, I mean, you know, that's my mentor, and some of the stuff that we put on tape really bothered me. So that was kind of an ego thing, I guess. They're very different than San Diego State. What they do like San Diego State is they're very physical. They match that side of that aspect of the game. And in my opinion, if you're a physical football team, you got a chance to win every game. And so it is a great challenge, very similar to the San Diego State. Schematically, it's different, but I'm looking forward to it. And what I'm really looking forward to is we're giving some of our young guys that have been playing rest. I mean, if you look through the 9th game, I thought after the Utah game, we had a stretch where we played some pretty good defense. I thought the second, from about the halfway through the first quarter through the end of the Utah game, I thought was really good defense and kind of something that you could see building. But fatigue-wise, those young guys took a lot out of them. And it showed. The next 3 weeks we weren't very good. So when you're we talk about it at the beginning of the year, you can get away with playing a couple true freshmen that are far away from the ball. Ashari Croswell, Pac-12 honorable mention, all conference, because he played really well in the conference games. He's super far away from the ball every time they snap it. He's 10 to 12 yards. He improved throughout the course of the season because he's not taking physical combative hits every single play. Jermaine Lole, Tyler Johnson, Merlin, Darian, those guys are getting physically beat up by superior strength football players just because they've been in weight programs for 3 years. These guys, after a year and a half in the program and us running them into the ground, they should be better. So if we can get that standpoint, we will be the physical team that people don't want to face. And that's the excitement I get to go against Fresno State. I think the bowl game is a reward for the season and the program. It gives you an opportunity to develop your players. You get extra practices. We don't have that luxury right now because we've only got, right now, 27 guys on defense out there practicing. We played 27 guys in the first game. So we're developing those guys on game day. So now it's an opportunity to get them into shape so that they have the best opportunity to perform. We're so young that they don't know how to handle that stuff yet as far as getting themselves ready. So we got to coach them hard for the next 2 weeks. Now I think you can do this. I've been through, in my career, been to 9 bowl games, including as a player. And there's a bunch of different approaches. The most important thing, you have to have a fresh football team when they get to that point. So you have to be able to push them hard early, install schematically what you're going to play late, practice physically at some point during the preparation because we're very young on defense and don't know how to handle practicing in just helmets yet. And I think there's a fine line between being fresh and being physically ready to play. With all the young guys, we're not quite there yet learning how to do it. So this year was a good teaching aspect of that because late in the season you should be able to practice without pads and get a lot done. I don't think the last 2 games we did that very well. It took us almost a half to get back into it, and I think that was a little bit of it, and that's on the coaches. That's on me for scheming that up. But then the freshness gives you the ability to play fast, which playing fast oftentimes gives you the opportunity to win. So we're at a point where we have to kind of do all that stuff for them. Now we're going to make it fun, and the bowl game should be a great time. You're in the city of Las Vegas where there's going to be 1,000 distractions, 1,000,000 distractions, so you have to designate the times that they are around those distractions and plus keep them from getting in trouble. And they're 17 to 21-year-old kids, so some of them can gamble and some of them can't. And I mean, you've got all kinds of that stuff. We're going to tell them to stay out of the casinos, but we don't walk around with them the whole time. So you got to educate them. And the good thing is we've got a core of really, really good guys on this team. And if you have that, you have a chance because they'll take care of the knuckleheads. They'll keep them out of trouble. So I'm really excited, and I think the Las Vegas Bowl, it's a great opportunity. It'll be a lot of fun.
It was about a year ago when you meet Smooth. You were getting ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, what have you found that tells you this was the right move?
First and foremost, Coach Edwards. Coach Edwards and Ray Anderson and Gene Boyd. They have been awesome to work for. Coach Edwards is we have the same vision going forward on what we want to accomplish, which is tremendous. Everything that he offered to me and promised me during our interview has come to fruition and then some. The support that our administration has given us to build this thing up to be something special. And then the coaches and the players. I love the guys that we coach. We have a great time out there at practice. They know when they get under my skin, and nobody. I mean, we have good banter and that, and they. It's a great environment out there on the practice field. And then when you really enjoy the guys that you work with, I think in any profession, that's a really, really big deal. When you enjoy going to work and you look forward to getting up to go to work, you have a chance to be successful. And the guys that we have, especially on defense, I mean, we don't mess around with the offensive staff very much. We see each other in hallways and we talk in full staff meetings, and then we get together during recruiting. But I spend all my time with the defensive staff and GAs, and Coach White has been one of my best friends for the last 10 years. Coach Newell and Coach Pierce. I mean, I love those guys. Our GAs and our analysts they work their tails off. And then I have an opportunity to spend time with my family, which, I mean, my wife comes to practice every Wednesday. I get to see my kids in the evening. We don't work these unbelievable hours. I mean, it's about being efficient in quantity and I mean quality over quantity, and it means I made the right choice. And now we won some games this year. We didn't win enough. We need to win more the next 2 years for me to. I mean, I'm competitively driven. I want to win every single freaking game, and that's what I want to build to.